What's happening, my beautiful people? My name is Mike LaBelle, and in today's video I want to discuss what have I learned about FIFA 18 at the competitive level in the pro scene, because I get so many frequently asked questions, and after playing in the MLS I feel that I can answer based not just on watching and consuming content, but also the feel and the direct experience that I had at a competitive event this year. And when I say competitive events, I'm talking about in person, where you're sitting next to your opponent or across from your opposition. That's a competitive event, not grinding through the weekend league, which is still good practice and it can qualify you to professional events. But by no means are online matches considered LAN events, pro events. They're not going to typically win you a bunch of money. You have to play in the in-person events. By the way, I've got my hands on some footage from the EMLS that has never been released, and also some content that may be a re-release from some of the staged matches. If you would like to see me break down the gameplay and talk a little bit more in depth about what was good, what was bad, the influential moments, what people were trying to do in terms of the mental battles, because FIFA is much different than competitive shooters where it is often about your reactions and timing. FIFA is more of that mental battle of every turn and little traps here and there. It's not a speed-based game necessarily. It's more about short-term and long-term strategy in terms of how you're stepping, how you're attacking, how you're defending, you name it. So if you want to see that, drop a thumbs up. And in the comments down below, what do you think about FIFA and esports in general? What needs to happen? What's going on this year? Because I'm really going to discuss gameplay in this video, but I always like to interact and have that dialogue in the comments below where we can go back and forth, and it allows me to feel that I'm very in touch and in tune with the community. I also apologize for less videos recently. I've been so sick this season, and if I'm not sick, I'm out of town, and it's making it very difficult to create the types of content that I want to produce on my channel with the levels of consistency that I would normally have. And I will say the interest level in FIFA this year is just down. I like to be very transparent. It's just down compared to other installments in previous years. Number one, if you're playing at a competitive event, you will need to be clinical. If you miss your chances, you're not going to win the tournament, because versus professional players, whether it's an early round game or much later on, it's in a group stage, they just don't make enough mistakes for you to expect to get 5, 6, 7 1v1s. It's just not going to happen. You must be composed, which is how you deal with different scenarios and situations. Defensively in the midfield when you're attacking, it can correlate with finishing, but it's more so about reading the game properly. You're not panicking. Under any given moment or circumstance, you are still thinking structured and you're not rushing your gameplay. You've got your plan and you're going to stick to it. And then also it comes down to being able to stop your opponent. You have to play good defense, and the best form of defense this year deals with possession, holding the ball. If you've got the ball on offense, your opponent is not attacking you. And that's something you're going to notice when you're at pro events, especially if you're up against a possession player. He's going to use that tactic till it goes out of style. He is not giving away the ball unless you take it from him. It can be very frustrating, but it's one of the most effective ways to win tournaments and also to build consistency, regardless if it's a good installment of FIFA or it's a bad installment in FIFA. I know that's very subjective, but I'm just throwing it out there. Number two, and I've talked about this via the live streams, I've talked about on YouTube, we have a major imbalance between defensive pressure and being able to hold the ball, the passing percentages, the possession play, and that was confirmed for me at the MLS. Players that pressured all over the pitch all match long, for the most part, there were mistakes made and opportunities were created for their opposition. And it's too bad that we have to discuss a title that has this imbalance where it's much easier to hold the ball than it is to create that pressure, because you can't get your team on the same page. The major foundation for this problem is that your defense does not communicate with your midfield doesn't communicate with the attackers. Therefore, there's always gaps when you're pressuring, and the only way that you can really create a decent amount of pressure is with that offside trap and combining that with some double teams and predicting what's going to happen and when it's going to happen. However, that's so risky when a match is decided by one goal, which in most competitive tournaments you're not going to see a bunch of blowouts. That's just not how it works. So you don't want to be offside trapping all over the pitch. Number three, kickoff goals are unfortunately extremely relevant, and I'm not making this video to bring any negative light towards EA. A lot of this is constructive criticism, but whatever we've got going on currently from kickoff as a tactic to score goals is getting out of hand. It's ridiculous. I remember my first 8 matches, so my first day of the EMLS, myself or my opponent we would combine for 9 goals scored in 8 games. So we were scoring more than 1 goal per game from kickoff. And this should simply not be that relevant to the outcome of games. Your best tactic to stopping kickoffs is running back with Ronaldo or trying to foul your opposition. When you're looking at esports, that's not a good look. I know EA dropped a patch to stop kickoffs, but then we had another patch following that where I felt like they came back maybe even stronger than ever. What do you guys think? Number 4, we need a competitive game mode for LAN tournaments. If you've seen the professional interaction via Twitter, then there's many tweets that have gone out this year saying we're playing a different game in each game mode, whether you're FUT Champs, online friendlies, kickoff, head-to-head, the draft. The game is the same, but the gameplay feels different. And that makes it so difficult as a consumer, an extremist, a competitive player, someone who's aspiring to be a professional player. How do you practice with different gameplay in every game mode? And then EA has also dropped 5, 6, 7 patches this year. If you want a true esport, you cannot have connection inconsistencies. I'll give you an example. Let's look at Counter-Strike. That game's so fast-paced, and every little intricate detail and all the timing. If the connection is just off by a tad bit, those players won't be able to achieve what they'd like to achieve. It becomes more of a luck-based game as opposed to being a more skill-based game. And that's not good when you're playing for thousands of dollars. And in some of these titles, you're even playing for $1 million. It's unacceptable. EA, you know I love your game. Build out a competitive game mode for in-person tournaments. We're getting to that point. We have so many different esports organizations and clubs that are now involved. We have potential cups and leagues, and we're starting to get an event calendar. I feel like it's coming. Number 5, low driven shots are super effective, and at the EMLS we were playing on world class difficulty, which I felt didn't eliminate, but it did reduce how many long shots could actually beat a Team of the Year De Gea. You weren't seeing goals from 30+ yards. You had to be on the edge of the box, if not inside the box, in order to score with the levels of consistency needed, because you're just not getting that many opportunities to attack. People played too well on defense, it was too structured, and they didn't hand the ball back to you. I felt like a lot of matches were very cagey, which is something that I'm accustomed to once again in competitive events. Number 6, very simple. If you're building out a competitive game mode or a competitive title, you have to have consistency and balance. Does not matter if you're playing Street Fighter, if you're playing Counter-Strike, League of Legends, Dota, you name it. Any competitive title that has had longevity and had a lot of success in terms of building out an esport, there's always consistency and balance, which means you're rewarded for making good decisions and you're punished for making bad decisions. And with balance, it allows people to play different styles but still be effective if you are at this top tier. Number 7, in my last point, I was extremely impressed with not just the competition level at the MLS in terms of player to player with all these different squads and the clubs and who they signed. I feel like for the most part they got it right, especially in the East. And I don't want to sound biased, but if you look at the East top to bottom, everybody was trading results. And that's kind of what you would expect at a professional event. But that's where I want to end off this video. I'd love for some of your feedback in terms of esports with FIFA. What do you think about our current state of the game? I just want to open this up to the people, and then we can kind of go back and forth in the comments. But I really appreciate all the support. I salute you, and I have a lot more content come for you ASAP. And I will be in Manchester this weekend working with a broadcast team. I salute you guys. Peace.